welcome. It's me, Brady Roseman. I'm in the Forbidden Library, and it's Sunday, and we are on a horse. So you know what that means. The screen is very tilted. That I have to play with the camera once more because I don't feel right. That's better. Much better. I feel like we're on the same plane of existence again. Horsey Brady's back. Yeah. Hello, welcome. Hello, welcome. Oh, lordy. I'm going to get confused a bit. I had a nap not too long ago, and my brain is still a little asleep. But we're here anyway. Hello, Kokuba. Hello, Nimby. Hello, Normal Size Fan. Hello, Super Rare. Welcome. We're gonna read some Don Quixote. We're gonna have a good time. It's mandatory. We must have good times on Bernie streams. Them's the rules. I do make them. Ha ha ha. Anyway, what happened last time? Now, I do believe that shenanigans happened, because shenanigans always happening. But, like, Sancho got a win. Don Quixote doesn't see it as a win, but Sancho does. They found, like, someone's leftover jewels and a notebook just kind of hanging around in a place. And it sounds like it's our second fella who has decided to die because a woman said no to him. So if I had a nickel for how many times that's happened in this book, we'd have 2 nickels. But he left shiny things. So Sancho's seeing this as, aha, I was right to follow him. After being so close to realizing that maybe it's a bad idea, but no. Sancho's an idiot. Sancho will continue to gamble, because just around the corner, who knows, maybe they'll find that island he can be king of later. But for now, let me see if we can get an idea. Yes. The Knight of Brew Count is very anxious to find out who the owner of it is. Yes, so, Don Quixote wants to find out who the owner is. And then they spotted a guy, I think? Yeah, they spotted someone. Firmly persuaded that among these wilds he could not fail to meet some rare adventure, as he went along them, when occupied with these thoughts, he perceived on the summit of a height that rose before their eyes a man who went springing from rock to rock, and from tussock to tussock with mighty agility, marvellous agility even. As well as he could make out, he was unclad, with a thick black beard, long tangled hair, and bare feet, legs and feet. His thighs were covered by breeches, apparently of tawny velvet, but so ragged they should show his skin in several places. Oh my, a half-naked man is jumping up the waterfall. A mostly naked man by the sounds of it, not even half. He was bareheaded, and notwithstanding the swiftness with which he passed, as has been described, the Knight of the Rueful Countenance observed and noted all his trifles, and though he made an attempt, he was unable to follow him, for it was not granted to the feebleness of Rocinante to make way over such rough ground, he being, moreover, slow-paced and sluggish by nature. Aw, poor Rocinante. He's just so skinny, like his owner. You know those, like, dogs that look like their owners? Rocinante looks like Don Quixote. They're both skinny bags of bones. Don Quixote at once came to the conclusion that this was the owner of the saddle pad and of the valise, and made up his mind to go in search of him, even though he should have even though he should have to wander a year in those mountains before he found him. And so he directed Sancho to take a shortcut over one side of the mountain, while he himself went by the other, and perhaps by this means they might alight upon this man who has passed so quickly out of their sight. Skinny and frequently falling over. Exactly, they're exactly alike. There's no difference between Rocinante and Don Quixote himself. The only difference is one has 4 legs and is stronger. Rocinante is stronger. Just about, because he can at least lift Don Quixote. I could not do that, said Sancho, for when I separate from your worship, fear at once lays hold of me, and assails me with all sorts of panics and fancies, and let what I now say be a notice. From this time forth, I am not going to stir a finger's width from your presence. It shall be so, said he of the rueful countenance, which I love is something we're taking to refer to Don Quixote so often now. It's wonderful. And I am very glad thou art willing to rely on my courage, which will never fail thee, even though the body and thy soul fail thee. So come on now behind me slowly as well as thou canst, and make lanterns of thine eyes. Let us make the circuit of this ridge. Perhaps we shall light upon this man who we saw, who no doubt is no other than the owner of what we found. To which Sancho made answer, far better would it be not to look for him, for if we find him and he happens to be the owner of the money, it is plain I must restore it. It would be better, therefore, that without taking this needless trouble, I should keep possession of it until some other less meddlesome and officious way the real owner may be discovered, and perhaps that will be when I have spent it, and then the king will hold me arms. Sancho be like, but what if we didn't give back the money? What if I kept the money? Please, Dad, let us keep the money. Terrible. Thou art wrong there, Sancho, said Don Quixote, for now that we have a suspicion who the owner is, and have him almost before us, we are bound to seek him and make restitution. And if we do not see him, the strong suspicion we have as to his being the owner makes us as guilty as if he were so and so, friend Sancho. Let not our search for him give thee any uneasiness, for if we find him, it will relieve mine. And so saying, he gave Rocinante the spur, and Sancho followed him on foot and loaded. After having partly made a circuit of the mountain, they found lying in a ravine, dead and half devoured by dogs and pecked by jackdaws, a mule saddled and bridled, all which still further strengthened their suspicion that the man who had fled was the owner of the mule and the saddle pad. Coming across a dead horse now. Just who is this brigand? As they stood looking at it, they heard a whistle. Hello, Exnam, welcome. Like that of a shepherd watching his flock. And suddenly, on their left, there appeared a great number of goats, and behind them, on the summit of the mountain, the goatherd, in charge of them, a man advanced in years. Don Quixote called aloud to him and begged him to come down to where they stood. He shouted in return, asking what had brought them to that spot, seldom or never trodden except for by feet of goats, or of the wolves and other wild beasts that roamed around. Sancho in return bade him come down, and they would explain all to him. The goatherd descended, reaching the place where Don Quixote stood. He said, "I will wager you are looking at that hack mule that lies dead in the hollow there, and faith, it has been lying there for now these 6 months. Tell me, have you come upon its master about here?" "We have come upon nobody," answered Don Quixote, "nor on anything except a saddle pad and a little valise that we found not far from this." "I found it too," said the goatherd, "but I would not lift it nor go near it for fear of some ill luck or being charged with theft, for the devil is crafty and things rise up under one's feet to make one fall without knowing why or wherefore." You know, that's kind of wise, actually. Smart man. "That's exactly what I say," said Sancho. "I found it too, and I would not go within a stone's throw of it. I left it there, and there it lies, just as it was, for I don't want a dog with a bell." Fucking liar. Fucking liar! "Tell me, good man," said Don Quixote, "do you know who is the owner of this property?" "All I can tell you," said the goatherd, "is about 6 months ago, more or less, there arrived at a shepherd's hut 3 leagues perhaps away from this, a youth of well-bred appearance and manners, mounted on that same mule which lies dead there, and with the same saddle pad and valise which you say you found and did not touch." "Oh, really?" "He asked us what part of the Sierra was the most rugged and retired. We told him it was where we are now, and so in truth it is, for if you push on half a league farther, perhaps you will not be able to find your way out. And I am wondering how you have managed to come here, for there is no road or path that leads to this spot." I say then, on hearing our answer, the youth turned about and made for the place we pointed out to him, leaving us all charmed with his good looks, and wondering at his question, and the haste with which we saw him depart in the direction of the Sierra. And after that we saw no more, until some days afterwards he crossed the path of one of our shepherds, and without saying a word to him, came up to him, and gave him several cuffs and kicks, and then turned to the ass with our provisions, and took all the bread and cheese it carried, and having done this, made off back into the Sierra with extraordinary swiftness. When some of the goatherds learned this, we went in search of him for about 2 days, through the most remote portion of the Sierra, and at the end of which we found him lodged in the hollow of a large thick cork tree. He came out to meet us with great gentleness, with his dress now torn, and his face so disfigured and burned by the sun we hardly recognized him, but that of his clothes, though torn, convinced us from the recollection we had of them that he was the person we were looking for. He saluted us courteously, and in a few well-spoken words he told us not to wonder at seeing him going about in this guise, as it was binding upon him, in order that he might work out a penance which for his many sins had been imposed upon him. Hello, Fire, welcome. We asked him to tell us who he was, but we were never able to find out from him. We begged of him, too, when he was in want of food, which he could not do without, to tell us where we should find him, as we would bring it to him with all good will and readiness. Oh, these guys are so nice. They're like, okay, you want to live in the forest? Sure. You want to live in this weird, rugged region? Sure. Do you need a snack? We'll bring you leftovers. But The man just wants to live off the grid. Or, if this were not to his taste, at least to come and ask it of us, and not take it by force from the shepherds. He thanked us for the offer, begged pardon for the late assault, and promised for the future to ask it in God's name without offering violence to anybody. As for the fixed abode, he said he had no other than that which chance offered, wherever night might overtake him. And his words ended in an outburst of weeping so bitter that we who listened to him must have been very stones, had we not joined him in it, comparing what we saw of him the first time with what we saw now. For, as I said, he was a graceful and gracious youth, and in his courteous and polished language showed himself to be of good birth and courtly breeding, and rustics as we were, that listened to him, even our rusticity, his gentle bearing, sufficed to make it plain. I am a rugged anarchist man, I'm living off the grid, but would you like some milk and cookies? Yes. You like to know model and you don't know this book? This is a very famous book. Don Quixote was the first modern novel, is what it is touted as. Published in 1662, I believe? Long time ago. But in the midst of his conversation, he stopped and became silent, keeping his eyes fixed upon the ground for some time, during which we stood still, waiting anxiously to see what would come of this abstraction, and with no little pity, for from his behaviour, now staring at the ground with fixed gaze and eyes, wide open without moving an eyelid, again closing them, compressing his lips and raising his eyebrows, we could perceive plainly that a fit of madness of some kind had come upon him, and before long he showed that what we imagined was truth, for he arose at a fury from the ground where he had thrown himself, and attacked the first found near him with such rage and fierceness that if we had not dragged him off, he would have been beaten or bitten to death, all the while exclaiming, "O faithless Fernando, here shalt thou pay the penalty of the wrong thou hast done to me. These hands shall tear out that heart of thine, abode and dwelling of all iniquity, but of deceit and fraud above all." And to these he added other words, all in effect upbraiding this Fernando, and charging him with treachery and faithlessness. Oh, Fernando, what's Fernando done? We forced him to release his hold with little difficulty, and without another word he left us, and rushing off, plunged in among these brakes and brambles, so as to make it impossible for us to follow him. From this we supposed that madness comes upon him from time to time, and that someone called Fernando must have done him a wrong of a grievous nature, such as the condition to which it had brought him seemed to show. All this has been since then confirmed on those occasions, and they have been many, on which he has crossed our paths. At one time, to beg the shepherd to give him some of the food they carry, at another to take it from them by force. For when there is a fit of madness upon him, even though the shepherd offer it freely, he would not accept it, but snatches it from them by dint blows. But when he is in his senses, he begs it for the love of God, and courteously and civilly, and retreats, and receives it with many thanks, and not a few tears. And to tell you the truth, sirs, continued the goatherd, It was yesterday that we resolved, I and the 4 lads, 2 of them are servants, and the other 2 friends of mine, to go in search of him until we find him, and when we do, to take him, whether by force or of his own consent, to the town of Almodovar, which is 8 leagues from this, and there strive to cure him, if indeed his malady admits of a cure, or learn when he is in his senses of who he is, and if he has relatives to whom we may give notice of his misfortune. This, sirs, is all I can say in answer to what you have asked, and be sure that the owner of the articles you found is he whom you saw pass by with such nimbleness and so naked. This is a bit of an adventure. They found a mad lad, a literal mad lad, not like a baller mad lad. Or I'm using more words that I shouldn't. Not shouldn't, but like I'm trying to explain it in simple language, and then I'm just using more slang. Sorry, quick BRB, unexpected. Sorry about that. Unexpected phone call in the streaming area. Not there. No, she was just calling to say hi. But she's fine to call back, so it's all good. So back to Don Quixote. Don Quixote. Don Quixote. Don Quixote. Don Quixote. Don Quixote. It sounds like something Italian. Quixote. Probably similar to something my brain can't put it together, but that's fine. So we've got someone who has been wronged by a man called Fernando, who has now turned into some kind of rugged forest gremlin. A little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde that will sometimes punch people, will other times be nice. We don't know. I'm so curious about this. This is kind of wild. Don Quixote stories haven't been too wild, or at least if they have. Well, no, they have been wild. But, like, in a comedy of errors kind of way. This is generally a little bit wild. Honestly, life goals. I know! Who doesn't want to just, like, live off the grid and be a little forest gremlin? It sounds great. But this one, like, the actual reality is wild and not just what's going on in Don Quixote's head, so I'm so curious. What is going to happen with this? I'm also, because of Limbus, curious where our second knight comes in. The one that Sinclair keeps taking the role of in the things. I don't know what. That could be the second book for all I know, so who knows? But anyway, the man with such nimbleness and nakedness. For Don Quixote had already described how he had seen the man go bounding along the mountainside, and he was now filled with amazement at what he heard from the goatherd, and more eager than ever to discover who the unhappy madman was. And in his heart he resolved that he had done before, to search for him all over the mountain, not leaving a corner or cave unexamined until he had found him. But chance arranged matters better than he expected or hoped, for at that very moment, in a gorge on the mountain that opened where they stood, the youth he wished to find made his appearance, coming along talking to himself in a way that would have been unintelligible near at hand, much more at a distance. His garb was what has been described. His garb was what I told you about before. I kind of like that as a little like, shorthand. He was dressed exactly how I described in the last page. Were you paying attention, reader? I hope you were, because I'm not doing it again. Save that as he drew near. Don Quixote perceived that a tattered doublet which he wore was amber tanned, from which he concluded that one who wore such garments could not be of very low rank. Approaching him, the youth greeted them in a harsh and hoarse voice, but greeted with great courtesy. Need those life goals. Get off the grid, life goals. Don Quixote returned his salutation with equal politeness, and dismounting from Rocinante, advanced with well-bred bearing and grace to embrace him, and held him for some time close in his arms, as if he had known him for a long time. The other, whom we may call the ragged one of the sorry countenance. Oh, the life goals to be the ragged one of the sorry countenance. Oh, that's funny. As Don Quixote was the rueful, after submitting to the embrace, pushing him back a little, and placing his hand on Don Quixote's shoulders, stood gazing at him as if seeking to see whether he knew him. Not less amazed, perhaps, at the sight of the face, figure, and armour of Don Quixote than Don Quixote was at the sight of him. To be brief, the first to speak after embarrassing was the ragged one, and he said, what will be told further on next time in Don Quixote. I keep growing my hair out like this. I'll be the ragged one with the sorry countenance. Yeah, life goal. Sorry countenance. Sorry countenance. Terrible. In which is continued the adventure of Sierra Morena. Sierra Morena. See that sounds like a Lalafell name from Final Fantasy XIV. Shamani Lamani Sierra Morena. It's a Spanish Lalafell. The history relates that it was the greatest attention Don Quixote listened to the ragged knight of the Sierra, who began by saying, "Of certy, senor, who are you?" Oh no, here comes the hydrates. Here comes the hydrates, 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 here comes the hydrates. Just the one? Just the one. I suppose it's Brathian, not Maxwell. Maxwell's the one who spams me. I appreciate just one hydrate, honestly. Thank you. I'm still downing my tea though, because honestly it's kind of the perfect temperature right now. If I leave it too long, it's gonna get colder. Please do not. One is enough. One is enough. I chugged my tea. One is enough. I'd have to go to the water bottle next. I need to up the charges of some of my point shit. The thing is with the 24 hours, you guys have far too much time to get bloody points. I need to make things expensive. The most expensive. Oh, what is the most expensive hydrate on Twitter? Maybe I can take that crown. I'll have the most expensive hydrate and posture check. Twitch even. I said Twitter, but Twitch. The most expensive hydrate and posture check on Twitch. That's my goal. I wonder if there's a stat for that somewhere. Why would you do that? The art is very good in this book. It's lovely. I'll make it bigger for you so you can see. Here we are. Beautiful. As we listen to the rugged one of the sad countenance. Gone mad with power. Because then you guys will have to watch a lot of my 24-hour stream. I will be like my own idol game. You know, not idle as in singing, idle as in you leave it running and do nothing. But it will be a stream instead. You'll have to just leave my 24-hour stream up in the background for like a whole ass day in order to get one hydrate. That would be terrible. Anya, 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 Anya. Change is coming. But what's with this nightman? Obscurity, senor. Whoever you are, for I know not. He's a bit of a youth, isn't he? So I'm going to give him a younger voice, yes. I know you not. I thank you for the proofs of kindness and courtesy you have shown me, and would I were in a condition to requite with something more than goodwill that which you have displayed towards me in the cordial reception you have given me, but my fate does not afford me any other means of returning kindness done me, but save the hearty desire to repay them. There's nothing evil, there's no gloves. The evil gloves are up. Kick gloves are up. Mine, replied Don Quixote, is to be of service to you, so much so that I had resolved to not quit these mountains until I had found you, and learned of you whether there is any kind of relief to be found for what sorrow under which, from the strangeness of your life, seems to labour, and search for you with all possible diligence, if search had been necessary, and if your misfortune should prove to be one of those that refuse admission to any sort of conclusion, it was my purpose to join you in lamenting and mourning over it, so far as I could. For it is still some comfort in misfortune to find one who can feel for it. And if my good intentions deserve to be acknowledged with any kind of courtesy, I entreat you, Signor, by that which I perceive you possess in so high a degree, and likewise conjure you by whatever you love or have loved best in life, to tell me who you are, and the cause that has brought you to live or die in these solitudes like a brute beast, dwelling among them in a manner so foreign to your condition as your garb and appearance show. And I swear, added Don Quixote, by the order of knighthood which I have received, and by my vocation of knight-errant, if you gratify me in this, to serve you with all the zeal my calling demands of me, either in reliving your misfortune, if it admits of relief, or in joining you in lamenting, as I promised to do. The Knight of the Thicket. Oh, he keeps getting new names! The Knight of the Thicket, hearing him of the rueful countenance talk in this strain, did nothing but stare at him, and stare at him again, and again, surveying him from head to foot. And when he had thoroughly examined him, he said to him, knighthood doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence, if you have anything to give me to eat, for God's sake, give it me. And after I have eaten, I will do all you ask in acknowledgement of the goodwill you have displayed towards me. Looks up and down. He looks scary. Knight of the Thicket. Thicket. I know a fun word to say. I highly recommend it. But you gotta hold the and then you got icky. And then it's thicket. And then it's fun to say. Highly recommend. Sancho from his sack and the goatherd from his pouch furnished the Ragged One with the means of appeasing his hunger, and what they gave him he ate like a half-witted being, so hastily that he took no time between mouthfuls, gorging rather than swallowing, and while he ate neither he nor they who observed him uttered a word. As soon as he had done, he made signs to them to follow him, which they did, and he led them to a green plot which lay a little farther off round the corner of a rock. On reaching it, he stretched himself upon the grass, and the others did the same, all keeping silence, until the Ragged One, settling himself in his place, said, "If it is your wish, sirs, that I should disclose in a few words the surpassing extent of my misfortunes, you must promise me not to break the thread of my sad story with any questions or other interruptions, for the instant you do so, the tale will come to an end." I will not be interrupted. So this is still a pretty, self-absorbed guy? Never follow one who does not chew. You know what, Super Ray? That is wisdom right there. These words of the Ragged One reminded Don Quixote of the tale his squire had told him, when he failed to keep count of the goats that had crossed the river, and the story remained unfinished. But no return to the Ragged One when he went on to say, I give you this warning because I wish to pass briefly over the story of my misfortunes, for recalling them to memory only serves to add fresh ones, and the less you question me, the sooner I shall make it to the end of the recital. Though I shall not omit to relate anything of importance in order to fully satisfy your curiosity. Don Quixote gave the promise for himself and the others. With this assurance, he began as follows. My name is Cardino. My birthplace is one of the cities that is of this Andansula. My family noble, my parents rich, my misfortunes so great that my parents must have wept, and my family grieved over it, without being able, by their wealth, to lighten it. For the gift of fortune can do little to relieve reverses sent by heaven. In that same country there was a heaven in which love had placed all the glory I could desire. Such was the beauty of Lucinda, a damsel as noble and as rich as I, but of happier fortunes, and of less firmness than was due to so worthy a passion of mine. This Lucinda I loved, worshipped, and adored from my earliest and tenderest years, and she loved me in all the innocence and sincerity of childhood. Our parents were aware of our feelings, and were not sorry to perceive them, for they saw clearly that as they ripened, they must lead at least to a marriage between us, a thing that seemed most prearranged by equality of our families and wealth. We grew up, and with our growth grew the love between us, so that the father of Lucinda felt bound, for propriety's sake, to refuse me admission into his house, in this perhaps intimidating the parents of that Thisbe, so celebrated by the poets. And this refusal but added love to love, and flame to flame. For though they enforce silence upon our tongues, they cannot oppose it upon our pens, which can make known the heart's secrets to a loved one more freely than tongues. For many a time the presence of the object of love shakes the firmest will and strikes dumb the boldest tongues. Oh, heavens, how many letters did I write her? And how many dainty, modest replies did I receive? How many ditties of love songs did I compose, in which my heart declared and made known its feelings, described its ardent longings, revelled in its recollections, and dallied with its desires. At length, growing impatient, and feeling my heart languishing with longing to see her, I resolved to put into execution and carry out what seemed to me the best mode of winning my desired and merited reward, to ask of her father for my lawful wife, which I did. To this his answer was that he thanked me for the disposition I showed to do honour to him, and to regard myself as honoured by the bestowal of his treasure, but that, as my father was alive, it was his right to make this demand. For if it were not in accordance with his full will and pleasure, Lucinda was not to be taken or given by stealth. I thanked him for his kindness, reflecting that there was reason in what he said, and that my father would assent to it as soon as I should tell him. And with that view I went the very same instant to let him know what my desires were. When I entered the room where he was, I found him with an open letter in his hand, which, before I could utter a word, he gave me, saying, "By this letter thou wilt see Cardino, the disposition the Duke Ricardo has to serve thee. What? Like I said, Don Quixote is definitely one of the hardest books I've read. It's been the book with the biggest sort of walls of text. I mean, this is 1, 2, 3, about 3 pages of just solid text with no paragraphs. Formatting has improved since the 1660s. And we appreciate this. This Duke Ricardo, as you, sirs, probably know already, is a grandee of Spain who has his seat in the best part of Andalusia. I took and read the letter, which was couched in terms so flattering that even I myself felt it would be wrong in my father not to comply with the request the Duke made in it, which was that he would send me immediately to him, and he wished me to become the companion, not servant, of his eldest son, and would take upon himself the charge of placing me in a position corresponding to the esteem in which he held me. On reading the letter, my voice failed me, and still more when I learned my father say, 2 days hence thou wilt depart, Cardinal, and, in accordance with the Duke's wish, and give my thanks to God, who is opening a road to thee, by which thou mayest what I know thou dost deserve. And to these words he added others of fatherly counsel. The time for my departure arrived. I spoke one night to Lucinda. I told her all that had occurred, as I did also to her father, entreating him to allow some delay, and to defer the disposal of her hand until I should see what the Duke Ricardo sought of me. He gave me the promise, and she confirmed it with vows and swooning unnumbered. Finally, I presented myself to the Duke, and was received and treated by him so kindly that very soon envy began to do its work, the old servants growing envious of me, and regarding the Duke's inclination to show me favour as injury to themselves. But the one to whom my arrival gave the greatest pleasure was the Duke's second son, Fernando. By name, a gallant youth of noble, generous, and amorous disposition, who very soon made so immediate a friend of me that it was remarked by everybody, for through the elder was attached to me, and showed me kindness. He did not carry his affectionate treatment to the same length as Don Fernando. It so happened, then, that, as between friends no secret remains unshared, and as the favour I enjoyed with Don Fernando had grown into friendship, he made all his thoughts known to me, and in particular a love affair which troubled his mind a little. He was deeply in love with a peasant girl, a vassal of his father's, the daughter of wealthy parents, and herself so beautiful, modest, discreet, and virtuous that no one knew her able to decide in which of these respects she was the most highly gifted or most excelled. The attraction on the fair peasant raised the passion of Don Fernando to such point that in order to gain his object and overcome her virtuous resolutions, he determined to pledge his word to her to become her husband. For to attempt it in any other way was to attempt an impossibility. Bound to him as I was by friendship, I strove by the best arguments and the most forceful examples I could think of to restrain and dissuade him from such a course. But perceiving I produced no effort, I resolved to make the Duke Ricardo, his father, acquainted with the matter. But Don Fernando, being sharp-witted and shrewd, foresaw and apprehended this, perceiving that by my duty as a good servant I was bound not to keep concealed a thing so much opposed to the honour of my lord the Duke, and so, to mislead and deceive me, he told me that he could find no better way of effacing this from his mind, the beauty that so ensnared him, than by absenting himself for a few months, and that he wished the absence to be effect by our going, both of us, to my father's house under the pretence, which he would make to the Duke of going to see and buy some fine horses that there were in my city, which produces the best in the world. When I heard him say so, even if his resolution had not been so good a one, I should have hailed it as one of the happiest that could be imagined, prompted by my affection, seeing what a favourable chance and opportunity it offered me of returning to see my Lucinda. With this thought I I commended his idea and encouraged his design, advising him to put it into execution as quickly as possible, as in truth absence produced its effect in spite of the most deeply rooted feelings. But, as afterward appeared, when he said this to me, he had already enjoyed the peasant girl under the title of husband, and was waiting for an opportunity of making it known with safety to him, being in dread of what his father the Duke would do when he came to know his folly. It happened then that, as with young men, love is for the most part nothing more than appetite, which, as its final object is enjoyment, comes to an end on obtaining it, and that which seemed to be love takes flight, as it cannot pass the limit fixed by nature, which fixes no limit to true love. Yes, true love. True love is better. What I mean is that after Don Fernando enjoyed his peasant girl, his passion subsided, and his eagerness cooled, and if at first he feigned a wish to absent himself in order to cure his love, he was now in reality anxious to go to avoid keeping his promise. Oh, Fernando, he just wanted her once and didn't want her again. He seems like a bad man. Bad boy, really, since they're youths. I would say this is Don Quixote and everyone's a youth to Don Quixote, but it's not Don Quixote's perspective writing this. And we don't know how old the author is. Everyone could be young to the author. He listened to his bottom instead of his top. Correct! The Duke gave him permission and ordered me to accompany him. We arrived in my city, and my father gave him the reception due his rank. I saw Lucinda without delay, and though it had not been dead or deadened, my love gathered fresh life. To my sorrow, I told the story of it to Don Fernando, though I thought that, in virtue of the great friendship he bore me, I was bound to conceal nothing from him. I extolled her beauty, her gaiety, her wit, so warmly that my praises excited him a desire to see a damsel adorned by such attractions. To my misfortune, I yielded to it, showing her to him one night by the light of a taper at a window where we used to talk to one another. As she appeared to him in her dressing gown, she drove all the beauties he had seen until then out of his recollection. Speech failed him, his head turned, he was spellbound, and in the end, love-smitten. as you will see in the course of the story of my misfortune, and to inflame still further his passion, which he hid from me and revealed to heaven alone. It so happened that one day he found a note of hers entreating me to demand her of her father in marriage, so delicate, so modest, so tender, that on reading it he told me that in Lucinda alone we combined all the charms of beauty and understanding that were distributed among all other women in the world. It is true, and I own it now, that though I knew what good cause Don Fernando had to praise Lucinda, it gave me uneasiness to hear these praises from his mouth. Oh, 1 second. Of course it gave him uneasiness. It's like, wait a minute, he talked about the peasant girl like this before. I've seen this before, there's a pattern here. And I began to fear, and with reason, to feel distrust of him, for there was no moment when he was not ready to talk to Lucinda, and he would start the subject himself even though he dragged it in unseasonably, a circumstance that aroused me in a certain amount of jealousy. Not that I feared any chance that in the constancy or faith of Lucinda, but still my fate led me to forebode what she assured me against. Don Fernando contrived always to read letters I sent to Lucinda and hear her answers from me, under the pretence that he enjoyed the wit and sense of both. It so happened, then, that Lucinda, having begged of me a book of chivalry to read, one that she was very fond of, Amadis of Gaul, Don Quixote no sooner heard Book of Chivalry mentioned than he said, Don Quixote got triggered. Don Quixote, you weren't supposed to talk. Had your worship told me at the beginning of your story and the Lady Lucinda was fond of books of chivalry, no other laudation would have been requisite to impress upon me the superiority of her understanding, for it could not have been of the excellence you describe, had a taste for such delightful reading been wanting. So, as far as I am concerned, you need waste no more words describing her beauty, worth, and intelligence, for on merely hearing what her taste was, I declare her to be the most beautiful and most intelligent woman in the world. And I wish your worship had along with Amadis of Gaul, sent her the worthy Don Rugal of Greece, for I know the Lady Lucinda would greatly relish Didier and Gariana, and the shrewd sayings of the shepherd of Daniel, and the admirable verses of his Bucales, sung and delivered by him with such sprightliness and wit and ease, by the time may come when his omission can be remedied to rectify it. Nothing more is needed than of your worship to be so good as to come with me to my village, for there I can give you more than 300, which are the delight of my soul and the entertainment of my life, though it occurs to me that I have not one of them now, thanks to the spite and wickedness of the envious enchanters. But pardon me for having broken the promise we made not to interrupt your discourse, for when I hear chivalry or knight-errants mentioned, I cannot help talking about them than rays of sun can help giving heat, or those of the moon moisture. Pardon me, therefore, and proceed for what is more than the purpose. Don Quixote got triggered. I need puppets while reading these stories? Oh my god, that would be so good. I should look into that. That'd be funny. Good day, Brandy. 'Tis a pleasure to behold you once again. I fear I may not be able to partake in much of your streaming endeavours, as I am presently contending with my own health afflictions. Oh no! Get well soon, Doppel! Look after yourself. Don Quixote would be like, she's a lady of culture. So he's like, well, actually, absolutely. So funny. While Don Quixote was saying this, Cardenio allowed his head to fall upon his breast and seemed plunged in deep thought. And though twice Don bade him to go on with his story, he neither looked up nor uttered a word in reply. But after some time he raised his head, and I cannot get rid of the idea, nor will anyone in the world remove it, or make me think otherwise. And he would be blockhead who would hold or believe anything else than that arrant knave Master Ealzabad made free with Queen Madasima. That is not true, by all that is good, said Don Quixote in high wrath, turning upon him angrily in this way. It is great slander, or rather villainy. Queen Madasima was a very illustrious lady, and it is not so to be supposed that so exalted a princess would have made free with a quack. And whoever maintains the contrary lies like a great scoundrel, and I will give him to know it, on foot or on horseback, armed or unarmed, by night or by day. Oh my god, we have a ye old Twitter battle. How dare you insult this fictional queen? She is a queen! Oh, I don't know. I don't believe it. But you are wrong! Cardenio was looking at him steadily, and his mad fit having now come upon him, he had no disposition to go on with his story, nor would Don Quixote have listened to it. So much had what he said about Madasima disgusted him. I think we know who his waifu is. It should be Lady Dulcinea del Toboso. Well, actually, I suppose this must be his fictional waifu, but Lady Dulcinea del Toboso is like his OC that he can obsess over, so... Because she doesn't really exist anyway. Sorry about all the yawns. She's a sleepy girl today. Eepy, eepy, eepy. Strange to say, he stood up for her, as if she were in earnest his veritable born lady. To such a pass had his unholy books brought him. Don Quixote's a Twitter guy! He's a waifu gooter! He'll live and die for his queen, Madasima! Cardenio then, being, as I said, now mad, when he heard himself given the lie, and called a scoundrel and other insulting names, not relishing the jest, snatched up a stone that he found near him, and with it delivered such a blow on Don Quixote's breast that he laid him on his back. Sancho Panza, seeing his master treated in such a fashion, attacked the madman with a closed fist, but the ragged one received him in such a way that with a blow of his fist he stretched him at his feet, and then, mounting upon him, crushed his ribs to his own satisfaction. The goatherd, who came to the rescue, shared the same fate, and having been beaten and pummelled them all, he left them and quietly withdrew to his hiding place on the mountain. Sancho rose with the rage he felt at finding himself so belaboured without deserving it, ran to take vengeance on the goatherd, accusing him of not giving them warning that this man was at times taken with a mad fit. Sancho, they told you this. Why are you mad at the goatherd? For if they had known, they would have been on the guard to protect themselves. The goatherd replied that he had said so, and that if he had not heard him, that was no fault of his. Sancho retorted, and the goatherd rejoined, and the altercation ended in their seizing each other by the beard and exchanging fisticuffs that, if Don Quixote had not been there to make peace between them, they would have knocked one another to pieces. God damn it, Sancho is such a fucking gremlin. Leave me alone, Sir Knight of the Rueful Countenance, said Sancho, grappling with the goatherd. For this fellow, who is a clown like myself and no dumb knight, I can safely take satisfaction for the affront he has offered me, fighting with him hand to hand like an honest man. That is true, said Don Quixote, but I know that he is not to blame for what has happened. With this he pacified them, and again asked the goatherd if it would be possible to find Cardenio, probably more like, but hey-ho, as he felt great anxiety to know the end of his story. The goatherd told him, as he had before, that there was no knowing of such certainty where his lair was, but that if he wandered about much in that neighbourhood, he could not fail to fall with him either in or out of his senses. Don Quixote, you would have thrived on Dividot. He fucking would have. Don Quixote, it's been 5 minutes and no one has been beaten up. Base knave! I don't even know if it's Don Quixote. Don Quixote didn't throw a single punch in that entire time. Sancho, however, he got his ass beat and then decided to blame the other guy who tried to save him. Sancho's a weirdo. Oh, look at that. Look at this nonsense. I do appreciate that Sancho stepped up to try help his Don Quixote. Oh my god, I'm really sorry, I can't stop. Because he's a coward normally. I guess it must have come that out of nowhere that it actually kind of really pissed him off. Right, let me have a quick drink. Chapter 25, in which treats of the strange thing that happened to the stout knight of La Mancha and the Sierra Morena, and of his imitation of the penance of Beltenebros. Sancho, when there are hands to throw, throws hands. He do! The stout knight? Is that Sancho? Is Sancho a knight now too? Oh wait, he's got a devil on his shoulder, quite literally, in that picture. You guys see that? And an angel on Don Quixote's. That's funny. Interesting picture. Very interesting. Don Quixote took leave of the goatherd, and once more, mounting Rocinante, bade Sancho follow him, which he, having no ass, did very discontentedly. They proceeded slowly, making their way to the most rugged part of the mountain, Sancho all the while dying to have a talk with his master, and longing for him to begin, so that there could be no breach of the injunction laid upon him. And unable to keep silence so long, he said to him, Señor Don Quixote, give me your worship's blessing and dismissal, for I'd like to go home at once to my wife and children, with whom I can, at any rate, talk and converse as much as I like. For to want me to go through these solitudes day and night and not speak to you when I have a mind is burying me alive. If luck would have it that animals spoke as they did in the days of Quixote. Definitely not how you say that word. Definitely not. but that's how we're saying it today. It would not be so bad, because I could talk to Rocinante about whatever came into my head, and so put up with my ill fortune, but it is a hard case, and not to be born with patience, to go seeking adventures all one's life, and get nothing but kicks and blankings and brickbats and punchings, and with all this, after sew up one's mouth with daring to say what is in one's heart, just as if one were dumb. I understand, Sancho, replied Don Quixote. Thou art dying to have the indirect I placed upon thy tongue removed. Consider it removed, and say what thou wilt, while we are wandering in these mountains. So be it, said Sancho. Let me speak now, for God knows what will happen by and by, and to take advantage of the permit at once, I ask, what made your worship stand up for that Queen Majamas, or whatever her name is? Or what did it matter whether that abbot was your friend of hers or not? If your worship had let that pass, and you were not a judge in the matter, it is my belief the madman would have got on with his story, and the blow of the stone and the kicks and more than half a dozen cuffs would have been escaped. In faith, Sancho, answered Don Quixote, if thou knewest, as I do, what an honourable and lustrous lady Queen Madasima was, I know thou would say I had great patience, that I'd not break in pieces the mouth that uttered such blasphemies, for it, For a very great blasphemy is to say or imagine that a queen has made free a surgeon. The truth of the story is that Master Ilsebad, whom the madman mentioned, was a man of great prudence and sound judgment, and served as governor and physician to the queen. But to suppose that she was his mistress is nonsense, deserving very severe punishment, and as proof that Cardino did not know what he was saying. Remember when he said that he was out of his wits? That is what I say, said Sancho. There was no occasion for minding the words of a madman, for if good luck had not helped your worship, and he had sent that stone to your head instead of your breast, a fine way should have been in for standing up for my lady yonder, God confound her. And then would not Cardinal have gone free as a madman? Against men in their senses, or against a madman, said Don Quixote, every knight-errant is bound to stand up for the honour of women, whom Don Quixote drank at least what passed as respect women juice at the time. Whoever they may be, much more for queens of such high degree and dignity as Queen Madasima, for whom I have a particular regard on account of her amiable qualities. For besides being extremely beautiful, she was very wise and very patient under her misfortunes, of which she had many, and the counsel and society of the Master Ilsebad were a great help and support to her in enduring her afflictions with wisdom and resignation. Hence the ignorant and ill-disposed vulgar took occasion to say and think that she was his mistress, and they lie, I say once more, and will lie 200 times more, all who think and say so. He does not approve of this ship. Ilsebad ex Madasima is nonsense ships. Don Quixote would like to fire a cannon into the ship. "I neither say nor think so," said Sancho. "Let them look into it. With their bread, let them eat it. They have rendered account to God whether they misbehaved or not. Come from my vineyard, I know nothing. I am not fond of prying into other men's lives. He who buys and lies feels it in his purse. Moreover, naked I was born, naked I find myself, neither loose nor grain. But if they did, what is that to me? Many think there are flitches. There are flitches where there are no hooks. But who can put gates to the open plain? Moreover, they said a God bless me," said Don Quixote. "What set of absurdities art thou stringing together? What has what we are talking about got to do with the proverbs thou art threading one after another? For God's sake, hold thy tongue, Sancho, and henceforth keep to prodding thy ass, and don't meddle in what does not concern thee, and understand with all thy senses that everything I have done and am doing or shall do is well founded on reason and conformity with the rules of chivalry, for I understand them better than all the world that profess them." "Señor," replied Sancho, "it is a good rule of chivalry that we should go astray through these mountains without a path or road, looking for a madman who, when he is found, will perhaps take fancy to finish what he began. Not his story, but your worship said, my ribs, and end up breaking them all together for us." "Sancho, if you're this pissed, just go. Leave him if you're this pissed." "Peace, I say, Sancho. I say again, Sancho," said I almost called him Don Quixote. Now that's a ship name. "For let me tell thee, it is not so much the desire of finding that madman that leads me to these regions, as that which I have of performing among them an achievement wherewithin I shall win eternal name and fame throughout the known world. And it shall be such that I shall thereby set the seal on all that can make a knight-errant perfect and famous." "And it is very perilous, this achievement." "No," replied he of the rueful countenance, "though it may be in the dice that we may throw deuce ace instead of sixes. But it will depend on thy diligence." "On my diligence?" said Sancho. "Yes," said Don Quixote, "for if thou dost return soon the place where I mean to send thee, my penance will soon be over, and my glory will soon begin. But as it is not right to keep thee any longer in suspense, waiting to see what comes of my words, I will have thee know, Sancho, that the famous Amadis of Gaul was one of the most perfect knight-errants. I am wrong to say that he was one. He stood alone, the first, the only one, the lord of all that were in the world in the time. A fig for Don Belinus, and for all who say he equalled him in any respect. For my oath upon it, they are deceiving themselves. I say it too, that when a painter desires to become famous in his art, he endeavours to copy the originals of the rarest paintings he knows. And the same rule holds good for the most important crafts and callings that serve to adorn a state. Thus must he who be esteemed prudent and patient imitate Ulysses, in whose person and labours Homer presents to us a lively picture of prudence and patience, as Virgil too, shows us in the person of Aeneas the virtue of a pious son, and the sagacity of a brave and skillful captain, not representing or describing them as they were, but as they ought to be, so as to leave the example of their virtues to posterity. In the same way Amadis was the pole star, day star, son of valiant and devoted knights, whom all we who fight under the banner of love and chivalry are bound to imitate. This then being so, I consider, friend Sancho, that the knight-errant who shall imitate him most closely will come nearest to reaching the perfection of chivalry. And now one of the instances in which this knight most conspicuously showed his prudence, worth, valour, endurance, fortitude, and love, was when he withdrew rejected by the Lady Oriana, to do penance upon the Pene Pobre, changing his name to that of Beltenebros, a name assuredly significant and appropriate to the life which he had voluntarily adopted, so as it is easier for me to imitate him than in cleaving giants asunder, cutting off serpents' heads, slaying dragons, routing armies, destroying fleets, and breaking enchantments. And as this place is so well suited for a similar purpose, I must not allow the opportunity to escape, which now so conveniently offers me its forelock. What is it in reality, said Sancho, that your worship means to do in such an out-of-the-way place as this? Have I not told thee, answered Don Quixote, that I mean to imitate Amadis here, playing the victim of despair, the madman, the maniac, as at the same time to imitate the valiant Don Roland! Hello, Roland. Hey, it's a fixer. I know him. Roland from Library of Ruina, right? When the fountain he had evidence from afar, the fair Angelica, having disgraced herself with Medoro, and through grief thereat went mad and plucked up trees, troubled the waters of the clear spring, slew shepherds, destroyed flocks, burned down huts, levelled houses, dragged mares after him, and perpetrated 100,000 other outrages worthy of everlasting renown and record. And though I have no intention of imitating Roland or Orlando or Rotolando, for he went by all these names, step by step, in all the mad things he said, and thought, I will make a rough copy of the best of my power of all that seems to me the most essential, and perhaps I shall content myself with the simple imitation of Amadis, who, without giving way to any mischievous madness, but merely to tears and sorrow, gained as much fame as the most famous. It seems to me that I need a drink before doing too much more Sancho voice. It seems to me, said Sancho, that the knight who behaved in this way had provocation and cause for those follies and penances. And what cause has your worship for going mad? That lady has rejected you, or what evidence have you found to prove that the Lady Dolicina del Toboso has been trifling with Moor or Christian? There is the point, replied Don Quixote, and that is the beauty of this business of mine. No thanks to a knight-errant for going mad when he has cause. The thing is to turn crazy without any provocation, and let my lady know, if I do this in the dry, what I would do in the moist. Why does that sound quite dirty? What do I do in the dry? What do I do in the moist? That is an awful sentence, and I hate it. I don't know what that sentence sounds like, but it's awful. I want that sentence to be banned from English language, please. No one is to mention, if they do dry, what they would do moist. Please. Never again. Ugh. Moreover, I have abundant cause in the long separation I have endured from my lady till death. Delicina del Toboso, for, as thou didst hear that shepherd Ambrosio say the other day, in absence all ills are felt and feared. And so, friend Sancho, waste no time in advising me against so rare, so happy, and so unheard of an imitation. Mad am I, and mad I must be until thou returnest with the answer to a letter that I mean to send by thee to my lady Delicina. Time to turn into a new British modern. No, please no. No, 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 no. No, please no. With the answer to a letter that I mean to send by thee to Lady Delicina, and if it be such as my constancy deserves, my insanity and penance will come to an end. And if it be to the opposite effect, I shall become mad in earnest, and, being so, I shall suffer no more. Thus, in whatever way she may answer, I shall escape from the struggle and affliction in which thou wilt leave me, enjoying in my senses the boon thou bearest me. For as a madman, not feeling the evil thou bringest me, but tell me, Sancho, hast thou got Mambrino's helmet safe? For I saw thee take it up from the ground, when that ungrateful wretch tried to break it into pieces, but could not, by which the finesse of its temper may be seen. To which Sancho made answer, By the living God, Sir Knight of the Rueful Countenance, I could not endure or bear with patience some of the things that your worship says. And from what I begin to suspect that all you tell me about chivalry and winning kingdoms and empires and giving islands and bestowing other rewards and dignities after the custom of knight errant must be all made up of wind and lies. Oh my God, Sancho's finally realizing. And all pigments or figments or whatever we call them, for what would anyone think that heard your worship calling a barber's basin Mambrino's helmet, ever seeing the mistake all this time, but that one who says and maintains such things must have his brains addled. Yes! Yes, Sancho! He is insane! And it's taken you so long to realize it. Oh, Sancho. I have the basin in me sack all dinted, and I am taking it home to have it mended, to trim my beard in it. If, by God's grace, I'm allowed to see my wife and children some day or the other. I mean, I guess probably the reason he doesn't leave is probably some kind of old-timey honor system, or the fact that, like, their stations are so different. It's easy from a modern point of view, just like, go the fuck home, leave him alone, he'll die without you. But there might be some kind of cultural reason. Sunk cost fallacy, I think he's just insane. Yeah, Sancho is just as insane as Don Quixote, that much is for sure. Look here, Sancho, said Don Quixote, by him thou didst swear by just now, I swear thou hast the most limited understanding that any squire in the world has or ever had. Is it possible that all this time thou hast been going about with me? Thou hast never found out that all things belonging to knight-errants seem to be illusions and nonsense and ravings, and to go always by contraries, and not because it really is so, but because there is always a swarm of enchanters in attendance upon us, and that change and alter everything with us, and turn things as they please, and according as they are disposed to aid or destroy us. Thus what seems to be a barber's basin seems to me Mambrino's helmet, and to another it will seem something else. And rare foresight it was in the sage who is on my side to make it what is really and truly Mambrino's helmet seem a basin to everybody, for being held in such estimation as it is, all the world would pursue me to rob it of me. But when they see it is only a barber's basin, they do not take the trouble to obtain it, as was plainly shown by him who tried to break it, and left it on the ground without taking it. For my faith, had he known it would never have left, he would never have left it behind. Keep it safe, friend, for just now I have no need of it. Indeed, I shall have to take off all this armour and remain as naked as I was born, if I have a mind to follow Roland rather than Amadis in my penance. Thus talking, they reached the foot of a high mountain, which stood like an isolated peak among the others that surrounded it. Past its base there flowed a gentle brook. All around it spread a meadow so green and luxuriant that it was a delight to the eyes to look upon it. The forest trees in abundance, and the shrubs and flowers added to the charms of the spot. Upon this place the knight of the rueful countenance fixed his choice for the performance of his penance, and as he beheld it, it exclaimed in a loud voice, as though he were out of his sentence. He exclaimed, I assume, not it. As he beheld it, it exclaimed. But I still think it means Don Quixote talking. Confusing language, but it's okay, we're getting it via some context. This is the place, O ye heavens, I have selected, and chose for my bewailing the misfortune in which ye yourselves have plunged me. This is the spot where the overflowings of mine eye shall swell the waters of yon little brook, and my deep and endless sigh shall stir incessantly the leaves of these mountain trees, in testimony and token of the pain of my persecuted heart is suffering. O ye rural deities, whoever ye be that haunt this lone spot, give ear to the complaint of a wretched lover, whom long absence and brooding jealousy have driven to bewail his fate among these wilds, and complain of the hard of heart of that fair and ungrateful one, the end and limit of all human beauty. O ye wood nymphs and dryads that dwell in the thicket of the forest, so may be nimble wanton satyrs, by whom ye are valiantly wooed, never disturb your sweet repose. Help me to lament my hard fate, or at least weary not at listening to it. O Dulcina del Toboso, day of my night, glory of my pain, guide of my path, star of my fortune, so may heaven grant thee in full all thou seekest of it. Bethink thee of the place and condition to which absence from thee has brought me, and make that return in kindness that is due to my fidelity. O lonely trees, and from this day forward shall bear me company in my solitude, Give me some sign by the gentle movement of your burrs, of your stick, that my presence is not so distasteful to you. Oh, thou, my squire, pleasant companion in my prosperous and adverse fortunes, fix well in thy memory what thou shalt see me do here, and that thou mayest relate and report to the sole cause of it all. And so saying, he dismounted Rocinante, and in an instant relieved himself of saddle and bridle, and gave it a slap and croup. He gives thee freedom who is bereft of it himself. O steed, as excellent indeed as thou art unfortune in thy lot, begone where thou wilt, for thou bearest written on thy forehead that neither Astaphilo's hippogriff, nor the famed Frontino, that cost Bradamante so dear, could equal 3 in speed. Astaphilo's hippogriff is actually, which just kicks ass. But also Astaphilo mentioned, yay, and Bradamante mentioned, fake granddaughter lives. Seeing this, Sancho said, "Good luck to him who has saved us the trouble of stripping the pack saddle off Dapple. By my faith, he would have gone. Gone where? Gone where? Without a slap on the croup and something said in his praise. Though if he were here, I would not let anyone strip him, for there would be no occasion, as he had nothing of the lover or victim of despair about him, insomuch as his master, which I was while it was God's pleasure, was nothing of the sort. And indeed, Sir Knight, the rueful countenance, if my departure and your worship's madness had come off in earnest, it will be well as to saddle Rocinante again in order that ye may supply the want Dapple, because it will save me time going and returning, for if I go on foot, I don't know when I shall get there, or when I shall make it back, as in truth, I am a bad walker." Sancho's not very good at walking. "I declare, Sancho," returned Don Quixote, "it shall be as thou wilt, for thy plan does not seem to me a bad one, and 3 days hence thou wilt depart, for I wish thee to observe in the meantime what I do and say for her sake, and thou mayest be able to tell it. But what more do I have to say besides what I've seen?" said Sancho. "Much thou knowest about," said Don Quixote. "I have now got to tear up my garments and scatter about my armour, knock my head against these rocks, and more of the same thing, which thou must witness. I'm going to do a lot of random shit. That is what was important in these books, obviously." "For the love of God," said Sancho, "be careful, your worship, how you give yourself those knocks on the head, for you may come across such a rock, and in such a way, that the very first you may put an end to your whole contrivance of this I don't know why I keep wanting to say peasants instead of penance. They're very similar, but not similar enough. And I should think, if indeed knocks on the head seem necessary to you, and this business cannot be done without them, you might content, as the whole thing is feigned and counterfeit and in joke, you might be content, I say, with giving them to yourself in water or against something soft like cotton, and leave it all to me, for I'll tell my lady that your worship knocked your head against the point of a rock harder than a diamond. I don't think a rock to his head can do any more damage, no. It's either going to kill him or it's going to do nothing, and there's no in between. I thank thee for thy good intentions, friend Sancho, answered Don Quixote, but I would have thee know that all the things I am doing are not in joke, but in very much earnest. For anything else would be a transgression of the ordinances of chivalry, which forbid us to tell any lie whatever under the penalties due to apostasy. And to do one thing instead of another is just the same as lying. So many knocks on the head must be real, solid, and valid without anything sophisticated or fanciful about them, and it will be needful to leave me some lint to dress my wound, since fortune has compelled us to do so without the balsam we lost. It was worse losing the ass, replied Sancho, for with him lint and all were lost. But I beg your worship not to remind me again of that accursed litter, for my soul, not to say my stomach, turns at hearing the name of it. I beg of you, too, to reckon as past the 3 days you allow me for seeing the mad things you do, for I take them as seen already and pronounced upon. And I will tell wonderful stories to my lady, and write the letter and send me off at once, for I long to return, to take your worship out of this purgatory where I'm leaving you. Purgatory dost thou call it, Sancho? Said Don Quixote. Rather call it hell, for even worse, if there be anything worse. For one who is in hell, Sancho said. Nulla est renito, as I have heard it say. One does not understand what renito means because I don't understand Latin. It's back. Renito, answered Sancho, means that whoever is in hell never comes nor can come out of it, which will be opposite case with your worship, or my legs will be idle. That is, if I have spurs to enliven Rocinante, let me once again to get El Toboso. El Toboso? Forky hell. What's happened to this accent? Spurs to enliven Rocinante, let me get to El Toboso, into the presence of my lady Dulcinea, and I will tell her such things and of the follies and madness, for it is all one that your worship has done. Hello, Benjamin. Renito. Is that the stuff you used to turn milk into cheese in it? Maybe. Oh my god. She cannot stop yawning today. Not stop yawning today. Not stop yawning today. Mouth noises. That I will manage to make her softer than a glove and find her harder than a cork tree. And with a sweet and honeyed answer, I will come back through the air like a witch and take your worship out of this purgatory that seems to be hell but is not, as there is hope of getting out of it, which, as I have said, those in hell have not, and I believe your worship will not say anything to the contrary. That is true, said he of the rueful countenance. But how shall we manage to write the letter? And as ask or order too, added Sancho. All shall be included, said Don Quixote, and as there is no paper, it would be well done to write it on the leaves of trees, as the ancients did, or on wax, or on tablets of wax, though that would be hard to find just now as paper. But it has occurred to me now, it may be conveniently, and even more conveniently written, that is, in the notebook that belonged to Cardino, and thou wilt take care to have it copied on paper in good hand. At the first village thou comes to where there is a schoolmaster, or, if not, any sacristan will copy it. But see thou give it not to any notary to copy, for they write a law hand that Satan could not make out. So, do not give it to a law handwriting. Okay, so is this part of, like, doctors with chicken scratch writing? Apparently anyone who worked in law also had chicken scratch writing back in the day. Good to know. But what's to be done about the signature? Answered Sancho. The letters of Amadis were never signed, said Don Quixote. That is all very well, said Sancho, but the order must needs be signed. And if it is copied, they will say the signature is false, and I shall be left with Ascot. The order shall go signed in the same book, said Don Quixote, and on seeing it, my niece will make no difficulty about obeying it. As to the love letter thou canst put, by way of signature, yours till death, the Knight of the Rueful Countenance. And it will be no great matter if it is in some other person's hand, for as well as I recollect, Dulcina can neither read nor write, nor in the whole course of her life has she seen handwriting or letter of mine, for my love and hers have been always platonic, not going beyond a modest look, for even that so seldom that I can safely swear I have not seen her for 4 times in all these 12 years. I have been loving her more than the light of these eyes that the earth will one day devour, and perhaps even those 4 times she has not once perceived that I was looking at her. Such is the retirement and seclusion in which her father Lorenzo Cochulo and her mother Alonza Nogales have brought her up. I love her so much I've looked at her 4 times. I know, right? So Lorenzo Cirillo's daughter is the Lady Dulcina del Toboso, otherwise called Alonza Lorenzo. She is it, said Don Quixote, and she is worthy to be the lady of the whole universe. I know her well, said Shanto, and let me tell you, she can fling a crowbar as well as the lostest lad in all the town. Give her all the good, but she is a brave lass, and a right one, and a right stout one, and fit to be a helmate to any knight errant that is or is to be, who may make her his lady. The awesome wench, that sting she has, and what a voice! I can tell you one day she posted herself atop the belfry of the village to call some labourers of theirs that were in a plough field of her father's, and though they were better than half a league off, they heard her as well as if they were at the foot of the tower. And the best of her is that she is not a bit prudish, for she has plenty of affability and jokes with everybody, and has a grin and a jest for everything. So, Sir Knight of the Rueful Countenance, I say you not only may and ought to do mad freaks for her sake, but you have good right to give way to despair and hang yourself, and no one knows of it, but will say you did well. Though the devil should take you, I wish I were on the road already, simply to see her, for it is many days since I saw her, and she must be altered by this time, for going about the fields always, and the sun and the air spoil women's looks greatly. But I must own the truth, your worship, Senor Don Quixote. Until now I've been under great mistake, for I believed truly and honestly that the Lady Dulcinea must be some princess your worship was in love with, or some person great enough to deserve the richest present you have sent her, such as the Biscayan and the galley slaves and more, no doubt, for your worship must have won many victories in the time when I was not yet your squire. But all things considered, what good it can do to the Lady Alonza Lorenzo, I mean the Lady Dulcinea del Toboso, to have the vanquished to your worship sends, or will coming to her and going down on their knees before her, because maybe when they came she'd be ackling flax threshing on the threshing floor, and they'd be ashamed to see her, and she'd laugh or resent the present. Basically, she's a strong Lady Dulcinea del Toboso is a strong and independent lady, is what I'm getting. But given the time, we will have to get Don Quixote's reaction to hearing about his dear beautiful waifu and what she's really like beyond the 4 looks he's managed to give her in her entire life next time, which will not be next week, unfortunately. So I'm gonna stream Monday, I'm gonna stream Tuesday, but the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday following, I'm going to take a break. I've got an event at the weekend I'm going to. I'll tell you more about it the week after when I come back. But I'll be away the Sunday. I'll probably be really tired on the Monday. And then I was like, that only leaves the Tuesday, and honestly I've kind of been a bit EP anyway, and I could probably use the charge up time. So I thought I'm actually just gonna go ahead. I'm gonna take the week off. We're gonna charge up. We're gonna beat burnout before it hits. Like I said, I'm in a bit CP. I won't call it burnout yet, but I feel like if I keep pushing sometimes that it might happen. So you'll have 24-hour me next week to deal with. But like I said, I'll still be back tomorrow. Briny playing Need for Speed Burnout. Nice. Which I think is good timing, because obviously tomorrow we're playing One Shot, and it should theoretically be the last one, ? So that'll give like a week's break, and then we'll do the next thing after One Shot, theoretically, if I finish it at that time. But yeah, so I will see you, so we'll be reading Don Quixote next time on the 9th. I will see you on this rocking horse then. But for not reading streams, I will see you tomorrow for the rest of One Shot. I hope you enjoyed today's stream. Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you everyone in chat. Thank you anyone left. Thank you anyone who watches the VOD. I really appreciate you coming and hope you enjoyed, no matter which way you decided to enjoy it. If you have not already, I'd highly appreciate it if you could leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. If you've done that, you should go to Twitch and give a little follow on there. That would be lovely. We just hit another goal on Twitch. We got, how many now? 321 followers on Twitch now. Wonderful. If you've done that, join the Discord. If you've done that, consider Patreon, in which I do extra videos every month, which are anywhere between 20 minutes and 2 hours, depending on what I'm doing. Usually closer to at least an hour. 321 is a weirdly specific. Well, 320 was the goal, and we just hit that one. So now 330 is the new goal, and 321 is what I've got right now. Yeah, I'm making little sense today. I'm doing my best. Hopefully, I should hopefully have more energy tomorrow. Buy the book. Yeah, do that. Buy books. I wrote books. Search my name in your favorite bookseller, and you probably will find me somewhere, especially if it's ebooks. The ebook is kind of everywhere. And press the buy button and then read it and then give it the best review because it's obviously a masterpiece. And then buy the next book and then read it and then review it and giving it 5 stars because it's the best. And rinse and repeat until you have read my entire catalogue. I think that is all I have for you. That is all the show. Thank you for sitting through the show. Thank you for sitting through me reading. Thank you for enjoying my content. I'll be back tomorrow. But until then, I had fun. I hope you had fun. This has been Briny Westman. I'm the Bin Library. Good.